Good morning, guys. This morning, hope all is well. Looks like a really nice day out there today. If you're outside, I know Michaela's out working the horses today, and it looks like it's going to be a good day for it. It's really, really nice. It's supposed to be 85 degrees today, and this is February 21st, and it's 85 degrees. Not going to say I don't like it, but I just hope we get enough rain so that this heat doesn't cause us any trouble. This morning, I wanted to give you guys a look at some HTML, some more HTML. It was suggested to me that I just kind of start from the beginning with HTML and do a more formalized class. So what I'm going to do is exactly that. I'm going to start at the beginning, what HTML is, the basics of an HTML document, and then I'm going to continue on with the different structures, with the headings, with the different tags, and we'll go from there. Hopefully that will give you a good background in HTML. It's a handy tool. Even if you're not using Canvas, it's a really handy tool. So I'm going to start that today. We're going to look at the basics of HTML, kind of what it is not, and then the basics of a document. I'm not going to spend too much time doing background stuff because that would just be tedious. I think most people understand the client-server model, for example. Most people understand how HTML works, but you never know. So what I'm going to do right now is look at kind of just a brief background, I guess, in HTML. So let's go ahead and let's see. Let's go ahead and hop over to the desktop real quickly. We'll start there. All right, guys, what we're looking at right now is a wiki page for a web server. Okay, web server is the necessary piece that makes up the web, basically, that allows us to view HTML documents or web pages on server. Now, it is not specifically necessary for there to be a web server. You can view an HTML document on your desktop. You can view that just in a browser, just in Chrome or Firefox. If you have one on your browser, you can open that. Usually, if you just double click on it, an HTML document on your browser, on your desktop rather, it will open up in the browser, and it will look exactly like you expect it to. But for the most part, if you want to have multiple people hitting that document, you're going to need a server because, frankly, one HTML document on a shared drive somewhere, the scalability just isn't there. So a web server is the hardware-software combination that allows an HTTP or Hypertext Transfer Protocol connection that allows us to view web documents over a network. And so that's what we're kind of looking at today. That's all the discussion that you need as far as what it is. Essentially, it allows you to read HTML documents, which basically an HTML document is just a glorified text document. The only difference between it and, well, you can build HTML in Notepad, and I'll probably show you how to do that just real quickly to kind of give you an idea of what how simple it can be. But it's a text document, and the web server allows us to read it over a network. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Let's make that a thing. I'm going to open up Notepad, and we're going to build a simple HTML document. All right, here's the trick. Okay, so all you need are the HTML tags. When a web browser reads this text document and sees those tags, it knows, hey, this is an HTML document. Now, that is a tag, angle bracket, a little bit of text, another closing angle bracket. That is a traditional HTML tag. That's what they look like. And those tags surrounding text have an effect on text or on structures. So, rule number one, if there's an opening tag, there has to be a closing tag. And the way that we do that is we angle bracket slash with that particular forward slash. There is a web page right there. If you did nothing else beyond that, a web server would understand that, your web browser would understand it. It would show you a blank web page. But blank web pages are kind of pointless. So let's go ahead and add some content. Inside the HTML tags are two things, a head and a body. The head of the document is invisible. The body provides the visible content. We're going to create a head. Once again, opening tag, closing tag. Inside the head, there's usually a lot of different things. There's connections to scripts. There's connections to JavaScript. There's connections to CSS documents. But what's also inside there, the more important piece, is the title. Once again, opening tag, and this time we're going to call this test web page. That is going to be our title, and we'll follow it off, closing title. Now, if you look, our title, opening tag, our title, closing tag, the text between the two tags is designated as the title. So opening tag, closing tag, for the title, this is the title. And the title will show up when we look at it in a web browser. See these tabs up here? This is where the title will show up. That's the first and only visible part of the head, is if you add a title, that information will show up there. So we've got our head, we've got our title, we've closed the head, and now let's open the body. The body is the part that is visible. Oops. We have to open the body, close the body. I have too many spaces there, and that bothers me. There we go. Also, ideally, you should be using indentions to make this look a little better. So I'm going to, let's see, I'll tab that over, tab that over. Notice how they line up. That because the body and the head are basically the same. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to put some text in the body. This text will be visible. I'm going to give it a title, and I'm going to use H1 heading. There are 6 title or 6 headings that HTML will allow you to format text with. So I'm going to put the title to our page. Well, test web page. This will show up in the front of the, or at the top rather, the top left of the page, and it will be large bold text. So that's H1, and I'm going to put a paragraph beneath it. Notice the tags. P tag is for paragraph, H1 is for titles. And I'm going to put basically a paragraph, kind of a short paragraph, but a paragraph nonetheless. Now, this is all I need. This is a perfectly legitimate web page, but we have to save it before we can view it in the browser. If you open it in Notepad, it's just going to look like this. There's really nothing there. But if you save it, and we're going to go save as, trick number 1, we don't want to save it as a text document because it will automatically put the TXT extension on there, and we don't want that. We're going to save it as all files, which means I can put anything I want as an extension, and we're going to call this test.html. That tells, of course, you know the file extensions describe what exactly the document is. We're going to save this on the desktop so I can get to it easily. Test.html, hit save. And sure enough, because my default browser is Chrome, I get the Chrome icon with test.html. If I double click that, sure enough, I have my title, I have my text, and up here in my little tab, I have the title that we put in the head. That is basically the only visible part of the head, is that title tag, the text between it. But my H1 tag is here, it's large text. My paragraph tag is here, small regular size text. And so this is, for all intents and purposes, all you need to build a web page. You can build a web page in Notepad. It's easy. It can be done. I've built, in fact, most of the web pages I started out building, even more complicated ones, are built in Notepad. Now, the problem with building them as Notepad is you get no help. Basically, Notepad, you have to do everything yourself. You have to put in all the tags. You have to put in all the pictures. You have to build all the links and anchors. And if you do it wrong, you don't know it until you load it up in the page and you look and you can't find it. So basically, there are other tools out there that are going to be a lot friendlier. One of those tools that we're going to use for training purposes is CodePen. Okay, I have 3 sections here, 1, 2, and 3. An HTML section, a style sheet, cascading style sheet section, and a JavaScript section. These are the 3 things you can put into a web page. You can put HTML code, you can put style sheet information, you can put scripting information. With it set up like this white area down here allows us to see exactly what we're doing in real time. So if we had images or if we add text decorations or whatnot, they'll show up down here. Let's give an example of this. By the way, codepen.io, if you want to follow along, this would be a really good time to go to codepen.io. The account is free, doesn't cost anything, and you can set up all the pens you want. The only difference between a free and a paid account, or at least the main one, is you can't upload pictures to a free account. You have to use their pictures, which is okay, but not the best thing in the world. Anyway, let's go ahead and do exactly what we did earlier with the test page that we made. First of all, we're going to edit the title. And we're going to call this test web page. We're going to edit the HTML sometime today. There we go. And we're going to do exactly what we did earlier. Actually, we shouldn't have to add these tags. We should just be able to start going, but we're going to go ahead and go. We're going to put in a head. We're going to put in the title. We're going to call it test, just like we did in the other one. We're going to close the title. We're going to close the head. And what we've done is exactly what we were doing in the other page. Now we're going to put in the body. We're going to put in H1. Oops, maybe if I can find the one. There we go. Just like we did in the other one. Sure enough, there we go. Now we're going to put in a paragraph tag. Oops. And this is identically the page that we created earlier in Notepad. It has the title, which will appear up here, which would appear if you were doing a real web page, it would appear up here. Unfortunately, this is not. We need to save. Yep, and now the title is showing up here, test web page. We have our H1 tag down here. Only here, you can edit things on the fly. This is what makes this web page or this website so nice. You can edit things on the fly and see the results immediately. Same thing here. We have our paragraph text. We have our paragraph tags. We have our H1 tags. Essentially, what we have is exactly what we had in the Notepad document. Only this is a lot easier to use. So, we're probably going to go ahead and use CodePen for our class, but hey, that's okay because it's a very effective thing. Now, another thing that we're going to look at is doc type. Okay, this is a tag that goes into a web page before the HTML tag, and basically what it is, it's a compliance tag. If you put this in there, then your document will be in compliant with the World Wide Web Consortium's definition of what a web page should be. So we're going to go ahead and copy that, and we're going to place it in our page as well. And what it does, it just tells the browser what type of document it's looking at. So we're going to paste that in. We're going to save it. And sure enough, notice it's not visible. Notice it kind of turns purple. It's because it's technically a comment rather than a tag, but it also is necessary for compliance. Now, does that mean you have to have it in there? No, not really, but it sure truly does set you apart as a professional. People look at your work and they go, yeah, this person knows what they're doing, because they use that doc type tag. And there's some other invisible tags that we'll look at a little bit later. But right now, this is what matters. The main HTML, head, title, body, and then closing. Oops, we forgot to close our body. Yes, it's possible. In this particular instance because CodePen puts in the tags for us if we don't do it, but we should do that. All right, so now there is our completed page. If we did nothing else, we have the same page that we had built in Notepad. We've got the doc type, we've got opening and closing HTML, opening and closing head, opening and closing title, opening and closing H1, opening and closing paragraph, opening and closing body. Every opening tag needs a closing tag with the exception of a couple of particularly important ones. Image tags don't need a closing tag because an image tag is not surrounding something. See how the two tags here, H1 and closing H1, they surround the text? How the title and closing title surrounds the text. An image tag doesn't surround anything. It's just a picture. And so to show that an image tag, instead of putting a closing tag, which you actually can put closing image tags, but it's kind of redundant. So what we generally do is put a slash and then a closing angle bracket with no text in between. And that tells us that we've closed our image. So for right now, though, we're not going to worry about images. We're just going to worry about some text. I've gone ahead and placed in my web page information. All right, now, back in the very, very not so good old days, if you wanted to modify your text, you had to add other tags in addition to the tags that you have required for the document. So let's say I wanted to make the word test, I wanted to make that bold. Back in the old days, I would have to tag, I would have to closing tag. When I did that, this text would become bold. However, these tags have been deprecated after so many years. We don't do that anymore. If I wanted to make text bold, what I would do is I would use an inline style sheet, or I would use an external style sheet. I would use CSS. If I want to modify my text, the goal here is to separate your content and your style information. That way you can change the style and look of the page completely without having to disturb the text, or you can change the text completely without having to disturb the style information. So let's make that word bold. We're going to make the word test bold. And to do that, we need to separate it out from the rest of this sentence. And the way that we do that is with a span tag. So if I put a span, close the span, this little piece of text is now separated out. You notice it doesn't look any different down here. The separation is just within the framework or the context of the document. It's still in the same line, but now that it's separated out, I can do things to it. Let's say, for example, I wanted to make it bold. So I need to give it a name so I can tell the document what part of itself I want it to be bold. So I'm going to give it an ID, and I'm going to call it equals, let's say, test ID. Okay, what that does is that's taken this word test, and it's given it a name that I can programmatically access. So I'm going to come over here now, and I want to do hashtag, nope, I can do hashtag test ID. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go font weight. Indeed, it appears to be. Oh, because I didn't close it. There we go. I have to close that. There we go. Okay, so I got span ID, save. Alrighty, now I've created a span for that one word there. I've designated this word, separated it out from the line, and I've given it a name, test ID. The ID is test ID, the ID of that word is. And then over here in my style sheet, I designated that as an ID, which that's what the hashtag means, along with the name. And now anything I put between these two angle brackets is going to affect this word test. So let's say I wanted to change the color. So I'm going to go color blue. And I'm going to save it. And sure enough, look at that. Now not only is it bold, but it's also blue. There are all kinds of things I can do once I have a piece of text designated or separated out. Let's see, is it font family? See what that does. Well, that does do something different. Notice now I'm using a different font. The rest of this sentence is Times New Roman, but the word test is now in Arial. I can do just anything that I can do to any kind of text. I can do that here. All I have to do is separate rather, some of the text out using the span tags, and then ID the span that I want to modify. I have to give it a name so I can access it. And then once I do that, then I can add all kinds of style information. I can do a lot of things in there with style information. The best place to find that information is WC3 Consortium. Let's see, W3C. The World Wide Web Consortium. That is where you're going to find all the information about tags and about how to use the tags. Anything you want to know about World Wide Web, HTML, etc., this is where you'll find it. And if you go to W3C Schools, this is where you'll find, well, anything you wanted to know about HTML, this is where you'd find it. Look at that, huh? Look familiar? Same thing, look at that. Look familiar? Amazing. Also, same thing. Look at that. Look familiar? We haven't actually done that yet, but you get the idea. All right, so that's our first lesson for today. What I would like for you to do, number one, get yourself a code pen. Number two, go in here and duplicate this work. I'm going to leave it up on the screen for just a second, but you should be able to pretty straightforwardly do what you need to do. If you need help, w3schools.com is the place to go for any kind of web help that you could possibly need. But what I want you to do is duplicate this page. Use the style sheet, use the ID, use the span tag, and change that bold blue Arial. And if you need help, by the way, that's what I'm doing this live stream for, is you can join along, and if you need help, then you can ask questions in the chat. I'm also going to post this on YouTube so that you can follow along later if you don't happen to be here right now. So that's going to be it for today. All right, guys, I hope you had a good time today. I hope you learned something, and I hope maybe as we progress forward, it will be better and better for you to learn things in HTML. It's a good skill to have if you're a teacher, if you're an instructor of any kind, because frankly, like it or not, everything's moving to online, and HTML is still the primary tool to present information textually online. If you're working in Canvas, or you're working in Moodle, or you're working in Blackboard, all those things are HTML documents. And so, like I said, like it or not, everything is moving to online instruction. Public health and just, I don't know, all the interesting cultural developments in our world in general. Everything's moving to online, so that is how it is. It is what it is. Excuse me. Whew, my nose is running a little bit. But anyway, I hope you had a good day today, and I hope you are able to follow along this. If you have any questions, this will be up on YouTube, and it will also be available here at Twitch. So I hope to see you on stream. Until then, have a great day.